Hello, my name is David Goodin, and we're here to do a little promo for a book that I'm getting ready to release that's called Wisdom from the Father That You May Have Never Had. I've had a very, very incredible life growing up without a father, having 6 children by 4 different women. My wife and I ended up with 9 children, and me learning how to be a father all the way. It's really been for me like maybe a 45-year ride, trying to go from not knowing to learning something and maybe to applying something. But anyway, this book is directed to single parents, hoping that there'll be some nuggets in there that they can see and find that will help them with their children, and those that grew up without both of their parents. Maybe there's different things that will help them in the book on several scenarios going through different seasons in their life. Now, today I'm going to be interviewed by my son, David Goodin. We call him Kage. And he is the perfect person to do this because he's going to be as transparent and real, because that's the only way that he knows how to go. Kind of shake it for me because I don't know just how he's going to ask me or what he's going to say, but that's exactly what we want. We just want just the way that it is. So check it out, Wisdom from the Father That You May Have Never Had.
So, Dad.
Yes, sir.
You wrote a book.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations on that, man.
Thank you, sir.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
It's quite an accomplishment. What's the name of it?
Wisdom from the Father You May Have Never Had.
Ironic. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm.
So, how did that even kind of get into your mind just to write a book on being, just giving fatherly advice?
Well, I think that if anybody knows about the experience, those type of experiences, you might have been one, to experience that, to a great degree, so, but I had somebody tell me before I could write this book, your Aunt Kay would say something like, David, before you can even write a book like that, you can't write it until you get to a place of change, to where your children see the change and you have a relationship with your change before you could actually write a book like that.
Now that's a real interesting little tidbit of advice that she gave you. Mm-hmm. What was it that you kind of saw that made you comfortable and confident enough to write a book, something like that? Because you had a little bit of a dicey past, of course, we're going to talk about. But what made you kind of get to that threshold where you said, okay, I feel like I can actually write this book right now?
Well, one of the things, because I monitor my life so well, and I've had such an incredible, interesting life, I can look back and see, even with you coming up, I could see where you and your brother coming up, and I could see where there were so many things that you missed out on because I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you missed out on so much is because of so many things that I see that I really didn't know. And it's interesting, not only did I see that I didn't know, it seemed like the older I got, it looked like the more I saw how ill-equipped I was throughout my life, to really be a father, make the right kind of decisions, for my children, and I think what happened is that I got to a point where, especially when we got to Jacksonville, when we moved to Jacksonville.
Okay.
But right before we moved to Jacksonville, when I was coming to these conclusions about, or this revelation about how I could have did better with my children.
Well, I get that, but following off the advice that Aunt Kay gave you, what was it that gave you? Where did you get to the point? Was it when you got down to Jacksonville where you said, okay, I think I'm getting this father thing down enough to the point where you said that you can actually put words to paper and actually start giving people advice on how to be a better father? That's what I want to know.
Well, actually, going hand in hand with what you said, when I'd come to a realization that I could have did a lot better with my kids.
In Jacksonville?
No, this happened in Atlanta, right before we went to Jacksonville.
Okay.
But all my kids were grown. and gone. And the only person we had left at the house was Michelle, who was 12 years old at the time. And of all people for me to ask this question, I asked you shortly before we were leaving. You just happened to be over at the house where we stayed in Riverdale. And because I used to call you, many times, and shoot, it might be weeks before I could get you on the phone, or something. And but anyway, I asked you a question right before we left for Jacksonville. I said, Kage, I said, what do you do when you find out that you could have did better with your kids? Because I tried to treat all the kids the same, but not really realizing that they weren't the same. They were all individuals. And I said, but what do you do as a father when you find out that there's so many things that you could have did better, but now your kids are grown, or you guys are 12-year-old, and they're all going out the house? I said, what do you do then? And you told me, you said, Dad, there's only one thing that you can do. I said, what? You said, why don't you start now? And I did.
I got to give it to you. Prior to that, I did, obviously, you and I had our differences when it came to, your parenting.
Yeah.
I thought that you were falling incredibly short of the father that you were.
Definitely.
And, but that's, and actually, coincidentally, is when my respect for you kind of went to another level, because you did do that. And the fact that a man at your age, having the type of past that he had with his kids, actually did put in the effort to turn it around, is when I really do think that I agree. I do think that's when you hit your stride when it came to being a father. I do think that you became a much better father because of effort. Because of effort. And that's something that as a son, as a father, that I find very admirable. That a man at that particular age and junction in life actually did change. Actually did change. And I know that wasn't easy for you to do. But what do you think, so as far as like some of the things that you weren't doing, what were some of the things that you weren't doing that you wanted to improve on?
Well, when we moved to Jacksonville, for the first time in my life, I had something I never had. And what that was, I had a family that modeled being what parenthood really was. When I would see how you're supposed to be there and interact with your children all the time, how you're supposed to, have to be a disciplinarian, like I was with you. It was just discipline with no balance, whatsoever. And how I could talk to the kids, what a husband really looks like, and how he relates to a wife, and how that couple relates to their children. Sometimes I would look at the examples that I had, which really was Pastor Mike and Connie. And I would say to myself, or even Kay and Stu with their kids, and I said, man, I screwed some stuff up. Because that is the way that you do it. I can see how that works and how they were there. And so what I tried to do, I said, you know what? I started trying to be there for you guys. Like when you needed something, and because you guys, we're blessed that we have kids that just don't call you all the time and ask you for something, and plus you do a lot of things, for other people. But for me, because I love my children, it was, I just had to make a decision. Okay. And I think one of the things that was a real reality to me with you was when, remember that truck you had when you came to Jacksonville?
I do indeed.
All right. I remember we were sitting on the back of the truck, and I told you, or we was on the truck, and I told you, I said, some kind of way the conversation came up. I said, Kage, I said, you were just 5 years old when me and your mom broke up.
I remember the day you left.
No, that's what you told me.
Literally.
All right.
Yeah.
And what did you tell me?
The day
now, at 5, you telling me at 5.
At 5.
You remember the day that I left.
The day that you left, Mom sat me and Doc down, and we were living in Brandontown off of Riverdale Road. Mom sat me and Doc down, and she was crying hard. And she said, Kage, you got to be the man of the house now. Your dad's gone. He's not coming back. I need you to step up, and I need you to be the man of the house now. Now, the funny thing about it is that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me mature a lot faster. It did make me grow up. It did. It forced me. I took that serious. My mom was crying in front of me. My dad just left. And yeah, it absolutely did make me mature and turn into a man a lot faster. I had to become a lot more aware of things. I had to look out for my little brother. I had to look out for my mom. So yeah, it was actually one of the better things that ever happened to me. But please continue. I do remember that day though. Yeah.
All right. Actually, that blew me away when you said that. You know, because I thought I was the only one that remembered that. You know, because I remember so many things about my past in detail. But it also showed me, you taught me something also in that about children, is that how when parents are going through stuff, arguing, fighting, even though they go into another room or something like that, they think because they tell the kids to go to their room, the kids don't know what's going on. And they always know what's going on.
They do indeed.
You know, with their parents. Even when they get in a relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you know, or whatever, and the kids are small, and the different disagreements, you know, that go on. Small kids, even, they still know what's going on.
I remember those also.
Yeah.
I remember those also.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of around that time, because back then you were a completely different David Goodin than the David Goodin that you are right now. I think anybody who knows anything about you would acknowledge that immediately. What were some of the things that you were into? Tell me a little bit about your past. I know it, but for the folks who don't know, tell me a little bit about your past. Just some of the things that you were into that kind of contributed to you not being the type of father, and the type of, not just father in all honesty, but the type of man that you needed to be and should have been at that particular time.
Well, it probably started. I actually was a product of rape because my father raped my mother when she was 17. And she didn't tell me
to. Hard to like your grandfather when you hear a story like that, but yes, I understand. I remember that.
Yeah. But I even learned a lot about that. There's so much more. But anyway, and then she didn't tell me till I was a teenager. And one time we were in Xenia, where I'm from, and she actually showed me a general area of where it happened. But I didn't have the wherewithal back then to remember that because I'm kind of to comprehend. It just wasn't hitting me just what happened. But one of the things that I know that that happened during that time is that my name ended up being changed 3 times before I was 9. I stayed. It was. I was actually, when I was born, I was David Anderson because my mother was Anderson. And then I saw on a Census Bureau thing when I was trying to get a passport, and they had a census thing. And when the census came through, my name was David Thompson, which was Yonka Dale, and Charlotte and all them, their father. And then some kind of way it got turned to David Goodin. How that happened, when that happened, I do not know, how that happened. But I also remember that I guess moms are so good, sometimes that you could be in a struggle, but they can't. But the children don't know the actual struggle. So you actually can have happy moments, because I was a pretty happy child, with my grandmother, my mother, and things going on. But I knew that my father, who always ran a bar, and plus he was a numbers man, David Goodin, that he was doing pretty good. But I knew he also could have drove to my grandmother's house in 5 minutes, But the 9 years I was there, I can't remember one time he did. But I also know they had to do with my grandmother, that my grandmother could have some special moments. But when we moved to Elyria, up there, it just seemed like we just moving. Mom was married 3 times, actually stayed with another guy, so we're always moving. And sometimes all 4 of us staying in one room, sometimes all 4 of us sleeping in the same bed. And so, and even coming up going through school, the neighborhood that we actually grew up in, everybody was, if people weren't, I wouldn't say they were shacking up, but everybody was messing around on everybody.
But let me ask you this, because I want to know more about your father part of life.
Mm-hmm.
When you started having babies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about where you were mentally, emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
the type of man that you were around then.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to know more about that. Where were you when you started? How old were you when you had your first kid?
I just turned 19. I got married a month after I turned 19.
Okay.
All right. One of the things about me, I'd always worked, so I always had a job.
Okay.
All right. But I got married right after I turned 19. Matter of fact, the first time I had sex, my girlfriend got pregnant.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
I even showed your brother where it actually happened.
Inappropriate, but okay.
I know. I told him that's what he said too. He just happened to be working across the street.
Okay.
And I saw a duplex right there in the driveway, and I said, wow. I said, it's interesting that you work here. And I said, you see that duplex right there? He said, yeah. I see the one on the left? He said, yeah. See that driveway right there?
Yeah.
I said, you was conceived in a 59 Bonneville convertible right there. And he thought it was more information than he wanted to know.
No doubt about it.
And he said he'll never look at that place the same. All right. But anyway, that's what happened.
Okay.
But I didn't know, really didn't know what I was doing. So, I want to get married, do the right thing. I've known her since I was 12 years old. And, but to show you how irresponsible I was, is that on the night of the wedding at the reception, and everybody was there, and everything was just beautiful and everything, it hit me that I had not figured out where we were going to live. Didn't have an apartment, didn't have a house, didn't have anything, which really
Pregnant wife.
Huh?
With a pregnant wife.
With a pregnant wife. And after the reception's over, we got to go somewhere. Now we're going to a hotel room because we got money, people that gave us money. But actually, my parents, my mom and my stepfather, they should have had me covered better than that. They should have asked those questions. They should have had me better prepared. Like, David, where y'all gonna stay? Where you gonna do this? But it wasn't. So I ended up staying in a hotel room, and basically too much honeymoon, I ended up losing my job.
Too much honeymoon, you lost your job. Pregnant wife.
Pregnant wife who was end up conceived on welfare. Yeah. And I just don't know what was wrong with my mind, because even when I got the call, because I was working this job 11 to 7, I think my mom called me and said, hey, Bemery's going to the hospital, and it looks like she's getting ready to deliver the baby. I'm lifting 100-pound bags of sand, putting them in carnation, some kind of concentration, and putting them in a thing. And the supervisor asked me, he said, David, you want to go home? Don't you want to go and be there, with your wife at the bed? I said, well, my mom and them, they're there. They there. But then I got tired because all the work that I was doing. And I said, shoot, maybe I do need to go because I'm tired. So I went home I went to go be with her, not to get out of working the rest of the night, rather than have the wherewithal to know that, your wife's getting ready to have a child.
So you left work because you were, because you were tired, more so than because you wanted to be there for the birth of your first child.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it definitely sounds like you were off to a rocky start.
When I got there, I was excited.
Okay.
The way that I should have been. But I'm just saying, it's just where I just don't know where my mind was. I just didn't have that type of responsibility.
You were off to a rocky start. Okay. And that was your first child. How many kids do you have?
I had 6.
6 kids.
Yeah. Because the next lady I ended up having sex with, she ended up getting pregnant too.
Wow.
Yeah. Same time.
Wow.
Yeah. So about a year later.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
And so, I think, but her mom was already in a relationship. Well, actually, she was married.
20, 2 kids, 2 baby mamas.
Yeah.
Wow. It's quite the road, young man. For the
Yeah.
first 2 years,
It was.
first couple sexual experiences.
Yeah, it was.
Were
And,
you any more mature, or do you think you were any farther along on the second one, or were you think pretty much in the same space?
No, you know what? I don't even, you know, because I would always work, you know, I would always have the paycheck coming in. I can't remember not.
Paychecks don't make you a father.
Well, I know, but basically, you know, back then, I was just more concerned with my cars. You know, because I like convertibles.
That's right.
You know, I used to go work on them. You know, I changed one of them over from automatic to a 3-shift in the floor. Did it all by myself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, did that. But I was just all into my cars, and then I started getting into managing the band.
So, Dad, I really just kind of wanted to go back on something we talked about when we first started.
Okay.
You know, as far as like the childhood and just the effect of parenting and kind of how it had on me. Like I said, I think it was definitely a blessing and a curse from my perspective. You know what I mean? It made me grow up fast. You know what I mean? I had to start working fast. I've been working since I was 8 years old. That's when I started getting out there all the time to make money.
Okay.
I mean, because you know, Mom was very transparent about what she was going through.
What kind of money could you make at 8 years old?
You can make a lot of money just taking out trash, just cutting grass.
Okay.
Me and Doc would walk up and down Riverdale Road and just go to every plaza, every business, and just see if they needed somebody to take out their trash. We would do it on the weekends.
Okay.
We would take that money, go buy comic books, whatever, food, clothes, whatever. But Mom was always really transparent about, you know, what was just going on. It's with me, not so much Doc. Doc was a lot more shielded and sheltered as far as the type of conversations and the things that were going on in the household than I was. Me and Mom started having really candid conversations really fast. And that's why we started doing it, because I remember Mom coming to me just crying. She's like, man, I need help. Y'all eat too much. Y'all grow too fast. You know, and so, you know, you see your mom crying, you know, you get out there and you do what you have to do. And during that time, I would think to myself, I would just be like, man, what is with this dude? How there's no way that he doesn't know what's going on over here. There's no way he doesn't know what's going on over here. And that's when the resentment started.
Okay.
That's when it started. You were always a really nice guy. You know, you were always nice. You're a nice guy. But man, you was a bad dad. You were a terrible father at that time, man. I don't think that you did a good job at shielding and protecting me and Doc from a lot of things.
Okay.
You know, I just don't think that you did. And being an adult now, I can kind of understand why things may have gone the way that they did. But at the same time, I also kind of look at me being a father and how I am with mine. And I'm like, this, because, but actually I think maybe that made me a better father. Because I wanted to be anti-you.
Okay.
If Dad did it, I'm going to do the other thing.
Okay.
Where Dad was weak, I want to be extra strong. So that's somewhat the reason why sometimes I'm a little bit more aggressive. Because at certain times in life, I thought you were a little weak, and not to insult you, but just not taking a strong enough stance and putting your foot down in situations where it should have been done.
Okay.
Which is why I am right now. So again, blessing and curse. But the fact that I'm able to, you and I have the kind of conversations now that we are able to have, where I'm able to be as transparent with you and tell you exactly how I feel, no holds barred, and you accept it. You apologize for it, and I'm past it now. I really, really am. But for people who's had similar experiences to me, and unfortunately there's way more people, men and women, kids, who've had experiences like me than it should be.
Right.
That, again, just kind of does bring it back around to when you did say, Kage, what can I do? Because you kind of misrepresented, well, not misremember, maybe misremember the kind of conversation that we had that day in Riverdale. I remember that also.
Okay.
You asked me when you messed up, this is literally what you said, when you've been messing up for so long, What can you do? And it sounded in that question like you were just kind of like throwing in a towel, like, man, I can't do this. This whole father thing, the cat's out the bag. Cage is the way he is. These kids are the way they're grown now. I think I blow my opportunity. That's
Okay.
the tone of the conversation.
Right. So and that's how you heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't trying to encourage you.
Okay.
I was just giving you an answer. I
Okay.
wasn't trying to help you, as you know. I just wasn't trying to help you at that time.
Okay.
You know, and if you jumped in, cool. If you didn't, cool. I was already used to that also.
Okay.
But with you doing it the way that you did, and I didn't see it coming.
Okay.
I did not see it
What
coming.
do you mean you didn't see it
I
coming?
didn't see that. I didn't see you putting the kind of effort, and I didn't think that you could be a good dad.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing really as far as being a man I learned from you. I didn't learn how to tie a tie from you. Doc told me.
Okay.
Your son, my little brother, taught me how to tie a tie.
Okay.
I didn't know how to shave.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I nicked this, all them little pieces of toilet paper on your face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would be littered on my face because I didn't know how to shave. And I started needing to be shaved at 17 years old. That's when I started, growing facial hair. You weren't around for that.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't teach me how to drive a car.
No.
You didn't teach me how to be a good basketball player or sports. Because I was a good basketball player, it was, you would show up and you took pride in how good I was athletically. But I didn't get a lot of things from you as far as like what a father is supposed to show a son. The basics.
Yeah.
The basics, the things, what I'm saying, if you're in the book or you're watching a movie, like this is what a dad's supposed to do to his son. You didn't do any of that.
Right.
And with all that being said, I still I gotta give it to you, man, because you were so bad at first.
God. Okay.
You were awful. You were horrible. But you were so bad at first for you to turn it around and me and you to have the type of relationship that we have now, where I would back you like stronger than any other child that you have. There's no child who's gonna go back for you more. And I was the one who had wanted nothing to do with you as much as any of the other ones did. But for you to turn that around, man, I really do have to give you a salute for that. And the thing that taught me, not in just being a father, but more so in just being a person, being a man, was that it's never too late. It's never too late to turn it around and have a better life. Because in your 50s, late 50s, I assume, you turned it around and turned into an amazing father. And any one of your kids, at least the ones that had an ounce of sense, will co-sign the fact that you are now, Dad, an amazing father. You're here for your children. You when needed, you're there. Period. First one. First one there, last one to leave. So I really do have to give you a real strong tip of the cap of that. I really, really do. And in all honesty, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate that. Hold up. This can't be on camera. This can't be on camera. Sorry, I didn't expect this emotion. But somebody said one time that the fact that I allowed you back into my life as an adult something, and that's actually not what happened. I didn't allow you. You earned your way back into my life.
Wow. Yeah.
You earned it.
I appreciate you giving me a shot, man. I just
Proud of you.
Yeah.
I am.
It's, out of all the kids that I have, you were the one that was the most like me in so many traits. And what I mean by that is that I saw so many things in you that was like me, that
Yeah,
it was scary. It was just scary. You was 5 times the man that I was at your age coming up. I wasn't that, but I saw traits, in you that scared, especially with women, because, you know, just being so accessible, and I just saw. You even asked me one time. You said, "Dad," you said, "How do you when you was working at the furniture store, just women, women, women. You're a sharp dude, so on and so forth." And you said, "How do you even stop it? How do you even stop them coming?" And I think I even told you. I said, "You got to choose one. You got to choose one, because you're the kind of guy that when you actually choose one, and who you're going to have your children by, and so on and so forth, you're going to stick with them." So the mere fact that you ever will make that decision to just choose one, say, "This is it. This is where I'm anchoring down, and building something," that's where you'll, that's where you're like, that stops all the other stuff. Then all of a sudden, the ones that constantly come, it don't mean nothing no more. It's a lot easier, to pass, because you know what you grew up in, and you ain't, this is the way you're gonna be.
Well, I definitely appreciate you saying that, but I still haven't made that choice yet. Nowhere near the, for lack of a better term, hoe that I was then that I am now. I mean, excuse me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the hoe that I used to be. But as far as getting back on you, because it's about you and not me.
Okay.
And ain't there's no such thing as a perfect situation. As far as just your upbringing and things like that. And mine was far from perfect, way better than a lot of people. So nothing. You're not being the father that you should have been back then. While I definitely think that if you had been, I would be even more of a better and more well-balanced man than I try to consider myself as being now. So yeah, I lost out on some things, and it definitely slowed up my progress.
Yeah.
As far as being the kind of man that I should have been in my 20s and my 30s and now 40.
That's right.
It definitely did. And but one thing that I see sometimes from other people who I talk to about their upbringing, and even some of my other brothers and sisters who get on you from your shortcomings, I can only blame you for so long. At a certain age in my life, I had to take responsibility and be the kind of man I wanted to be. Still trying.
Yeah.
Every day
Doing
trying to get
job.
better. Thank you. Still got a ton of work to do.
Yeah.
Tons.
Me too.
Amen to that.
Me too.
Amen to that, man. But again, there did come a point, and God bless my mom, that angel, for being the type of woman, the strong woman that she is.
And how you and your brother have come up, and how you have evolved into what you've evolved into to this point, and near where you're going, is that I never take any credit for that. Because
that's true.
Right. I never have, never will, because I know that it's not because of me, but it's in spite of me that you are where you are.
All true.
Oh no.
All true. And also that's also something that that I think that you should be commended for. One thing that you are, Dad, if you ain't nothing else, you're the type of man who takes responsibility. In my personal opinion, I think that you take too much responsibility for certain things. I tell you that all the time. I really do think that you carry around more weight and burden for how things around you have kind of shaped out. Ilaria, for example, I think that you take too much burden for the condition of the city now. Your kids, I think that you shoulder too much responsibility for some of our shortcomings. Personally, I think that you do. I do think there's, at a certain time, again, that you do have to take responsibility for your adulthood. So, no, and you do. You always give the credit to mom, and that's where it should go to. That's 100% where it should go to. So definitely, I commend you for that. But mom definitely, laid a really strong foundation because she's just a strong woman, and she just did and sacrificed so much for me and Doc. So that we could have the basics, and anything else that we wanted, me and Doc were man enough, even as teenagers and kids, to go out there and get it ourselves. Anything extra that mom couldn't provide, because again, that wasn't really the time where you were doing what you should have been doing. But I did kind of want to go back to something that we talked about a little bit earlier, as far as when I was telling you how I didn't allow you back in, how you actually earned your way back into it, and because I wasn't gonna try to make it easy for you.
Oh, I know. That's not your style.
No, I ain't had no reason to.
Yeah,
I had absolutely no reason to make it easy for you. I wanted it, and it wasn't even a thing where I was like pulling for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I had already gotten used to a certain, way of behavior.
Yeah.
So anything, if you changed, cool. If you didn't, cool. I already know what's going on. What was it? How did you? What was it that kind of made you just kind of keep on banging away at it? What was it? Because I know it wasn't just like some come to Jesus moment where me and you just had that conversation. You was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just be a fantastic father now.
Yeah.
That ain't how life works. That ain't how people work.
Yeah.
So what was it that kind of made you just kind of keep on going? Was it guilt? Was it wanting a better relationship with your kids, or what kind of led that charge with you?
Well, I think I always wanted a better relationship with my kids, but I really didn't know how to go about it. I just didn't. But I would. But when we went to Jacksonville, I started to learn some things. But I think the thing that really got me in Jacksonville, where something had to change, and you probably could relate to it, is I started having all these men looking up to me like I was something. They always wanted advice from me.
Ain't that so?
And because I've always been a good counselor. People have always come to me thinking that I would have an answer for them since I was a teenager, since I was in school, and but I just saw these couples coming, guys were coming, and they were really, and I could really see the advice that I started to give them, just from basically learning from my own mistakes, not wanting them to make the same mistakes that I made, to land them in a position of being without their children like I am, like I was in the relationships that I didn't have with my children. And I just thought I'd be a hypocrite as a Christian. To have, as you saw, sometimes 80 guys sitting around a table listening to what I got to say.
About being a dad.
Yeah, about being a dad. So how was I going to, how was I going to do that if I couldn't begin to make things right with my own children?
I think that's interesting that.
How did you feel about that when you came to Jacksonville and you saw how men looked up to me? In the droves.
I was surprised. I was surprised. But I can't say that I had an issue with it. And the reason why I didn't have an issue with it was because you went to Jacksonville and I came down there sometime after that.
Yeah.
So in between the time that you got down there and where I came down, you were putting in work with me. And since you were putting in work with me, as long as I saw that you was walking it like you was talking it,
now
I was cool.
But going back, one of the things that happened I noticed with some of my kids is that you actually were you never would have came to Jacksonville by choice.
No.
down at where I was at.
That's true.
All right. You never would have.
That's true.
All right. But circumstances had just happened in your life that it seemed like it was the best place for you to go at the time.
Right.
That put you there.
Right.
And then that gave us an opportunity.
That's true. I that's actually a real good point. That is where our relationship really took off, because because I didn't know anybody in Jacksonville. I was forced to be around you more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true. But seeing those guys respond to you that way, it was it was surprising. Mm-hmm. Not surprising in a way where I didn't think that you deserved it. You know, it was surprising in a way. It was like, wow, look how these people are responding to my dad. You know, because again, by then, you know, and that's really all I ever wanted for you. Mm-hmm. I've always just wanted, because the whole Christian thing, has always been my issue with Christians, the mm-hmm. hypocrisy. Mm-hmm. So the whole Christian thing was really, I was like, okay, if you want to be a Christian, be that. Yeah. Be Christ-like.
Yeah.
Don't just be a Christian in name and just say, just because you pray and say, I pray to God, not Allah, Buddha, or whoever, mm-hmm. insert title of said God. Be that. Be Christ-like. I've read the Bible, mm-hmm. front to back. I've read the Quran from back to front. So I know how people who are religious should act. Mm-hmm. So when I saw you acting Christ-like, when I saw you being the type of father that I knew that you could be, I didn't care if you did or didn't at the time, but I knew that you could be, had it in you, because you're a good guy. Mm-hmm. And I think anybody who knows you would say that. But when I saw that, it was. I thought that was actually better for you than me, in all honesty. I thought that you needed that more than I did. Okay. You needed to know that you can be that man. Okay. I was cool either way. Yeah. But I thought that you needed to know that you could be that man, that you could have that type of effect, positive effect on people, and it be coming from an honest place. Yeah. And not just on a Sunday. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, this is how I get down. Yeah. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, this is me. Yeah. This is how I get down. Yeah. I ain't performing for nobody. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I know. I couldn't do it no other way.
Is where I was really, really proud of you on mm-hmm. that. And that's where I really started to break through. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is good for him. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I could see it, though. Yeah. So again, you know, kudos to you on that, man. Kudos to you on that, man. You've evolved. And again, most importantly, my personal opinion, I do think that you're a great example to show people, no matter what's going on in life, whether it be from a father relationship or work relationship or just trying to just be a better person. You're a great example that it's never, ever too late to change. Wow. And I got to commend you for that, man. I'm proud of you. Wow. I love you, Dad.
Well, let me close with this right here. I'm glad with this book coming out, Wisdom from the Father That You May Have Never Had. The reason I'm doing it is to help fathers not be in a position or going through some of the things that the two of us went through. Maybe there's just something helping that would help them. But also, you know that I could have got 10 men to say, who is David Goodin? Who is Elder Goodin, or whatever they wanted to call me, you know, or whatever. And they would have just been cool. But you know what? It's, to me, you know, want to make sure that I'm not doing something that's hypocritical. I think that the only place that I can be validated is by my family, my children, or a son. Because see, if I don't have children that can say I can write a book like this here, why even write it?
Well,
change the title, make it something else, do something else, you know.
You've got children who could say that you've earned the right to write this book.
All right.
Congratulations on that, man.
Hey, man. Give me a hug. Right. Love you, man.
Love you, Dad.
All right. All right. Proud of you too, man. All right.
So whoever's out there listening, I just got done talking to my dad about his book.
And in closing, I want to say this to the fathers first. To the fathers, hopefully one thing that you guys get from this book is that it's never too late, and that's worth it. But it has to be on you. You have to lead the charge. The onus of that should not be placed on the children. That's your father's job to do. That's a man's job to do, not the child's job. Don't put the responsibility of mending a broken relationship on your children. It has to come from you. It has to come from you. You have to be the leader, because that is what your child has been waiting on. To the children, be open. And that's all I ask, be open. Don't help too much. Be open. Allow them to make the effort. Be receptive to the effort. And that's really all that you're obligated to do. Nothing else. But one thing I really do hope that you can see is that it can happen. There's an inaccurate storyline about black fathers in America, that they're not present. Wrong. They are. Black fathers outperform most other races when it comes to being fathers. Whether they're in the home or not, they're more present in the lives of their children. And I hope that you take that knowledge and we do actively try to break that misconception that's going on around here. I want the world to see you men for the men that you are, the powerful men that you are. The children, I want the world to see that you're great, that you're more than what they just may see on TV. To the mothers, God bless y'all. We're nothing without you. We're nothing without you. You're the backbone of every family. You're the backbone of every family, and I cannot tell you how eternally grateful that we are. We may not show it all the time. We may not call as much as our mothers may want us to call. We may not be around as much as they may want us to be. But one thing I can say for sure is that we know who are the ones who made us the men that we are. I really hope that everyone who reads this book can get what you really should get out of it. My dad is far from perfect, even still, but his effort is something that cannot be denied. His effort is the reason why he's earned the right to write this book. There's going to be some stuff in there it's not going to show him in a real positive light, and it shouldn't, because he hasn't always shown himself to be to be a good father. But the evolution is what we focus on, because that's just life. Life evolves. The evolution is what we focus on. That is what makes us great. That's what makes a great father a great father. The evolution, the effort, because you're always going to be a father. If your kids are 70 years old and you're 100, you still their daddy, and they still your babies. I thank everybody for watching this video. I thank everybody in advance for reading this book. Go get this book. And try not to judge me on all the tears and snot that y'all saw. Thank y'all.